All right, folks, let's jump right in. So, we're looking at this video by Colonel Jacques Baud, where he lays out his perspective on America bombing Iran's nuclear facilities. It's like a deep dive into how international law and treaties are being undermined to push forward, what some call American
Yeah,
hegemony.
absolutely. Right. And what really caught my attention was his claim about deception surrounding this war of aggression. He talks about how these actions aren't just military moves, but part of a larger strategy to restore dominance.
Exactly. He argues that attacking nuclear facilities is not only about stopping potential threats, but is also a means to disrupt existing global agreements, treaties, and institutional frameworks that were meant to keep things in balance.
Yep. I mean, isn't it a bit jarring to think that a military maneuver could be seen as a deliberate undermining of international norms? What do you make of that?
Well, it's like a layered strategy. On the surface, it's a preemptive strike against perceived threats, but there's this narrative about deception. He suggests that it's about ensuring that America's influence stays unchallenged in critical regions.
Mm-hmm. Sure. But isn't that a pretty heavy-handed interpretation? I mean, while the actions might undermine treaties, do we have enough solid evidence to say it was intentionally designed to restore hegemony?
That's a fair point. His view, coming from a deep military intelligence background, carries some weight, but it does seem to mix strategic observations with a sort of geopolitical narrative that might be, well, a bit overinterpretive at times.
Yeah, true. Right. And there's also this idea he mentions about deception. Like, it's not just a conventional military strike, it's wrapped in misinformation and narrative manipulation. How do we sort fact from commentary there?
Well, that's where the whole analysis gets tricky. It's like he's urging us to question the official stories, to look at actions through the lens of international law and historical precedent.
And speaking of international law, it's interesting how he argues that these bombings blatantly disregard established norms. That almost sounds like we're back to the days of imperialism in a modern guise.
Exactly. It's like saying that while the weaponry and tactics have evolved, the political playbook is still about dominance and control. He points out that the rules we've set up for global order are being selectively ignored to favor certain power structures.
Right. That selective application of rules is a pretty contentious point. On one hand, there's the idea of protecting national security, and on the other, there's an almost imperial approach. It's difficult to reconcile the two without digging into the details of each case.
Absolutely. And what's fascinating is how he links military actions to a broader ideological strategy. It's like he's challenging us to see these moves as multidimensional, a direct military action blended with a strategic narrative to, weaken adversaries on multiple levels.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and that raises some intriguing questions about the nature of modern conflict. Is it just about physical territory, or does it also involve controlling narratives and undermining institutions?
Right on. And it's really like a chess game where the moves on one side aren't just about taking territory. They're about discrediting your opponent's entire rulebook. Colonel Baud, with his background, brings in that kind of mixed analysis where military tactics are interwoven with political deception.
Exactly. Now, one thing that I find a bit puzzling is his take on American motives. He seems to claim it's all about restoring hegemony. But don't you think there might be other factors at play, like, say, regional stability or preventing nuclear proliferation?
That's a really good question. I think his perspective zeroes in on the idea that the true motive is power, restoring dominance even at the expense of international law. It's like Washington wants to keep its leadership no matter what, even if that means bending the rules. But yes, One could argue that there's also a security rationale floating around.
Agreed. Exactly. It's a delicate balance. Sometimes intentions are mixed and um, actions can be interpreted in multiple ways depending on the lens you use. Like, is it a preventive strike or just a maneuver to keep the global chessboard in your favor?
Right, it's like if you look at it from a purely military perspective, you might say it's tactical. But on the political level, it becomes strategic manipulation. That duality is really what makes his analysis so provocative.
Yeah, that's thought provoking. Also, his dismissal of international institutions was pretty sharp. He argues that by bombarding these nuclear sites, America is essentially signaling a disregard for the regulatory frameworks that have been painstakingly built over the years. Do you think this tactic could destabilize global diplomatic efforts?
Absolutely. And yeah, it's like taking a sledgehammer to the fabric of international order. It sends a message that rules can be discarded when they don't suit a superpower's interests. And that, well, undermines the very foundation of global cooperation.
I mean, if the rules are seen as optional, then international law loses its credibility. That could have long term repercussions, right?
Yeah, exactly. It's a slippery slope into an anarchic world where might makes right, and that could lead to even more aggressive actions from other nations who feel cornered or undermined.
Right, definitely. You know, one critic might say that his take is a bit too one sided and doesn't account for the full complexity of securing a nation. How would you respond to that?
I'd say it's important to consider that his analysis is coming from a military intelligence standpoint. That means it's inherently focused on power dynamics and strategic interests. While it might oversimplify certain elements, it does force us to confront the uncomfortable reality behind these actions.
Yeah, that makes sense. Right? And it's like he's challenging us to revisit our assumptions about national security. Could it be that in the process of keeping the peace, these aggressive moves actually compromise it in the long run?
Exactly. It's like you might win a battle, but if the cost is the erosion of international trust and legal systems, then that victory might be a Pyrrhic one. The short term gains could lead to long term instability.
Yeah, I see that, and that's where the irony lies. The very measures taken to prevent nuclear threats might in fact create the conditions for larger conflicts tilting towards something as catastrophic as World War III. At least that's what some fear.
Right. It's like walking a tightrope where one misstep can lead to a cascade of unintended consequences. The interplay between military might and political narrative here is truly complex.
Absolutely. Overall, this video definitely pushes the envelope on how we think about modern warfare and global politics. It's a call to critically evaluate not just the actions, but the underlying narratives driving those actions.
Yeah, exactly. It invites us to peel back the layers, to look beyond the immediate headlines and see how historical precedents, strategic interests, and international law all collide in these scenarios.
Right, for sure. And while there may be disagreements over his interpretations, it's hard not to be drawn into this broader debate about power, legitimacy, and the future of global order.
Indeed. Even if you challenge some of his points, the discussion really forces you to question whether the measures we accept today might set dangerous precedents for tomorrow.
Plus, when you consider the historical context, like how colonial powers much earlier manipulated treaties and institutions, the parallels are striking, don't you think?
Totally. It's like history tends to repeat itself in different disguises. And what we're seeing now may be just another chapter in a long run of power politics.
Yeah. So, summing it up, we have a multifaceted discussion that covers the use of military force as both a tactical and strategic tool, and how deception and manipulation are key components of modern statecraft.
Exactly. And it really leaves you pondering not just what is happening now, but what it means for the future of international relations. It's a reminder that the stakes are incredibly high when it comes to global power plays.
Absolutely, right? Yeah, and as always, it's essential to look at these issues critically. While Colonel Baud's take might lean in one direction, it opens the door to broader discussions on how we, as a global community, anchor our laws and ideals against such aggressive moves.
Right. And it begs the question, how do we, as citizens or global actors, respond when the rules of the game seem to be constantly shifting? That in itself is a challenge for future diplomacy and security.
Definitely. Well, it's been a really enlightening chat. It's always great to dissect such dense topics and uncover the layers that most people might not even consider at first glance.
Totally agree. The interplay between military action, deception, and international law is a complex tapestry, and discussing it here just reaffirms the importance of staying informed, questioning narratives, and engaging in thoughtful debate.
Absolutely. All right then. Thanks for diving into this with me. I think this discussion really ignites a lot of food for thought about how power and politics shape our world.
Yeah, cheers to that. Let's keep questioning and exploring. It's these conversations that help us see the bigger picture.
Indeed, indeed. Until next time, keep your minds open and critical.
Absolutely. Catch you later, everyone.